Promises without plans. Mark Golding's Contradictions. Trying to jam Jamaica inside the cow's butthole again. Sometimes you get the impression that Jamaicans are more indulgent, kind, and trusting to their enemies above their friends. Marcus Garvey would tell you so. History, common sense, and your own eyes will prove it. It happened many times before. It is happening today, and by God, I hope it will be no more in the future. This self hate and betrayal of our own made Marcus Garvey leave Jamaica with a broken heart. Jamaicans celebrate insults, like I see many Jamaicans celebrating that Joe Biden gave Marcus Garvey a pardon. Had Joe Biden not done anything, it could be seen as mere neglect. The fact that he claims that he pardons our hero is in itself the insult. It means that he doubled down on the claim that Marcus is a criminal, but he is having a mercy. He is having mercy. We don't want it. Isn't that a bigger insult than him not doing a thing? Jamaicans are something else. Since Marcus was innocent, then only the exoneration would make sense. A pardon is the insult they celebrate. And funny enough, the first one to celebrate and ask you to celebrate was Marky G of England, wanting you to take embarrassment from his people. Same thing happened with Norman Manley and Marcus Garvey. And then the big thing carried over from Norman Manley to Michael Manley and Rastafari, trampling Marcus' integrity for Manley and too blind to even see. Jamaicans are something else. Hello, my people. It's Skywalker. I have a burning issue today, and the coffee is really strong. This is one of the times that I want you to bear with me while I cover these issues. I want us as Jamaicans to begin to take national and racial pride more seriously. We must stop doing that thing that reeks of self hate. You cannot give a white man the benefit of the doubt after he already put a chain around a brother's neck. It's like going to the top of Cornwall Regional Hospital and jumping off. Then, when you reach to the fifth floor, going down, you expect to change your mind. No, you can't. Some decisions are final. It's a decision that's made and done. Once you put the chain around the neck, it should be isolation. The party should have cast him out and found another candidate. But it proves the betrayal. It proves the betrayal of the PNP from the day it began. When Norman Manley fought hard against Marcus Garvey and passed it on to the next generation in Michael Manley. Oh, Norman Manley gave Marcus such a hard time. But the thing with this chain incident with Golding is that the PNP could not um, remove him because it was the entire PNP involved, it seemed. Because when you watch the videos, there were so many of them there, and they were so, exuberant about it. The Manleys wanted to blot out the name of Marcus Garvey from history. But Edward Siaga would never let that happen. Then Michael Manley tried to overshadow him. You remember that word, overshadow? He tried to overshadow him, claiming that he, Michael, received a rod of correction from Haile Selassie. because Rastafari saw Marcus as next to Selassie. At that, many Rastafari took on this slogan about Joshua with the rod of correction, almost like making Michael Manley next to Haile Selassie and then Marcus demoted to third place. Just like how Big Stone thinks like it's the white slave master first. That's how Big Stone seemed to think. It's the white slave master first and then black man after. And it's the white man who's gonna liberate him. Jamaicans are something else. Something else, my people. What did Marcus do to deserve betrayal? What did black people do to be betrayed by Dayton Campbell, Big Stone, and the entire party of Rise United PNP that is now owned by this European man? Marcos saw that what was being proposed for Jamaica independence was nothing but the same colonialism. So he insisted on us having our own autonomy and was proposing ways to do so. Yet, at the end of that struggle, especially against Norman Manley, he left Jamaica with a broken heart. Later on, he would have turned in his grave. Yes, he would have turned in his grave to see masses of Rastafari cheering Joshua with the rod of correction. It is always, always like that with our people. Is it because we hate ourselves? The fathers of the PNP and their leaders don't even show love for Jamaica and its people. Where would we be headed under a PNP led by Rise United and Mark Golding? Huh? They know that this party was sold out to these wicked capitalists, but they don't say a thing. They crawl out in silence and add their contributions to Mark Golding's campaign. Then they crawl back to act like they are mere observers. The PNP was formed by the haters of Marcus Garvey, and we still have to fight that same fight today. The Jamaican government is demanding a full exoneration of Marcus Garvey, although the white man, for there was always a white man with the traitors behind him, seems to want us to be satisfied with a glaring insult. And you know what is funny? In most of these cases, the struggle is always against actions of the PNP, but Jamaicans sold us out. Just like Dayton Campbell's ancestors were probably slave catchers in Africa who caught their brothers and sold them. If you don't take sleep and mark death, you might be the next traitor. I mean, what more revelations do you want when men are exposing themselves? Remember, a white man named Eddie Siaga, you remember him? The man who stood up like Paul Bogle and defended Marcus? You hated him, but you loved Michael and the Norman Manley. Now you running around screaming for Marky G and ready to shove your necks inside of a chain gang chains. The entire PNP is a chain gang now. Watch the video if you don't believe me. No black man could convince that white man named Edward Siaga to put chains around a black man's neck. The people of Tivoli will tell you so. Marky G took to the chain thing like he was well practiced though. He was born in his legacy and it's in his blood. Where did that ritual come from? Makes you feel like this party must have handlers in Europe or something. The oppressors are always bothering us, and we have too many traitor kinds. Trump hardly got in office before he started spewing Mark Golding type lies out at Burkina Faso, yes? Burkina Faso is one of our nations, I mean, a nation that's close to Jamaica by blood. And one day I'll get into it. And they are trying to hold on to their own freedom. And now Trump hardly got in office, but he started spewing the same kind of margoling type lies at them. Next thing he will do is try to tell Jamaica not to join BRICS as if we can't decide to whether or not on our own. We can choose to join or not, but it should be our decision. The world is changing and we are not trying to separate from our own people to suit people that hate us. But that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue. Let's look at our politics. What more reveal does anyone need to tell that the PNP only wants to lead Jamaica up into the cow's butt hole again? Sure, sure. Mark Golding said that he will lead Jamaica in the right direction, but that is obviously where he means. If you are going to lead someone somewhere, you have to know where that place is at. There has to be a roadmap. Mark Golding has no plan or no manifesto. In fact, maybe less than 24 hours ago, he was on IRI FM admitting that he was trying to research on how to manage the cost of living in Jamaica, an elementary thing, but he was debunking Andrew Holness about what he didn't know all day, isn't it? So he was a leader leading what he didn't know and leading where he didn't know. That's the exact direction required to go up into the cow's butthole again. The direction has a name. It's called ignorance, isn't it? Just like his teacher, financial Professor Gizmo, Omar Davis, the clueless, Ralston Hyman's superhero, the world class finance minister who first jammed Jamaica up in beer. Thanks to Shoah, we got out and we are here. What next? What will they come with now? Mark clueless behavior. Mark clueless behavior. Mark Golding, you have to study for a job before applying for it. You are very irresponsible. You have to learn about finance before you send in your resume. I told you people not long ago that Omar Davis employed Mark Golding on a superficial claim of experience. Mark Golding's so called banking experience was no real banking experience. All his business did was invest and get profit at the end of the month, as interest rates were always going up, and his buddy Omar was the inside man, the finance minister at that. Even a dunce could do that. Running a country is different, and Andrew Holness said that yesterday. So, what more revelations do we want? We hear the rubbing out slurs and the suck your mothers. We know that their members are funding gangs, and we see the large representation of questionable characters in their support. We see the kind of people they will put into parliament to make laws, even coke dealers to make laws to catch coke dealers. We hear the threats about more taxations to devastate the poor and the Tapanaris budge that would take over the country. We even heard the threat that sounds exactly like hospital fees will be reintroduced. We saw Dayton Campbell bringing crowd of supporters where his party was not contesting an election in Trelawney to block road and jeer. But he said he did it out of love. What kind of country would they lead? A tribal war nation or something? We see the heap of lies spewing out of Mark Goldings like a cow with diarrhea, right? Unabated, where we must take sleep and mark death. He was born in Jamaica and England at the same time, according to him. He has dual citizenship, but we are in the process of getting rid of England for good. His dual citizenship will hijack the process. And the other things we see, but not everything good for eat, good for talk. However, at least we all know so we don't have to talk. People that molest children underage especially, and even forcing same gender affairs, and these minors must be in prison and not in politics. The PNP betrays Jamaica again. If we know of people like these, we must take it seriously. Our God will not like it. Jesus says no. We see preachers behind those that do the worst, but on Sundays they go and they preach, claiming that God gave them a message. They are not listening to God. They are not listening to God. They are evil. Now, to top it all off, we see Mark Golding finally confessing to his ignorance after he claimed he would lead Jamaica in the right direction. Make that make sense? Mark Golding has been vocal about his plans to manage the cost of living in Jamaica, but without having a plan to manage anything or without knowing how. While he promises to lead Jamaica in the right direction, it raises the question, how can one claim to know the way without a concrete plan or a manifesto? This uncertainty is troubling, especially when his team members propose policies like taxing imports, which could further burden the poor. Jamaican people, what more revelations do you need? The whole book of Revelation? Huh? It's disheartening to see political leaders more focused on opposing than working for the greater good. These capitalist opposition members only care for themselves. Andrew Holness has been addressing cost of living concerns and implementing policies to manage inflation and support economic growth. Instead of tearing down these efforts, the opposition should be working alongside the government to enhance what works and provide constructive feedback on what doesn't. Although it would be a problem for Mark, who doesn't know or understand a damn thing, as he is now admitting. So, to him, it's more like rocket science, but he would explain it more like brrr, 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 confounded speech. Confounded speech. Give him the damn medicine, quick. Andrew Holness is doing a good job, but he is not perfect. I see many suggestions that I would make to him as we speak. What kind of opposition is the PNP? Huh? For years, successive governments have struggled to improve the healthcare system. Now that positive changes are being introduced, it would be more productive for the opposition to support these efforts or offer constructive criticism rather than opposing for the sake of it. The ultimate goal should be to improve the lives of the people, not to engage in political point scoring. If I was the opposition leader, I would collaborate with the Prime Minister and make sure I get my credit for building together. Then I would use my own strong points to drive my campaign. The thing is, though, Mark Golding's strong points are incredibly weak. Mark was taught by the financial professor Gizmo himself, and Gizmo inventions always never work. Political leaders, even in opposition, should prioritize national progress over personal or party gains. Constructive Constructive criticism and collaboration can lead to better outcomes for everyone. Instead of tearing down government projects, the opposition could focus on enhancing what works and introducing innovative policies that address unmet needs. By working with the government on projects, the opposition will always be able to see where things can be improved and use these points to prove their worth. Imagine a political landscape where leaders work together to build a stronger nation, regardless of party lines. That kind of unity could truly make a difference. It's time for our political leaders to show interest in national progress first. By working together, they can ensure that whatever works for the country is good for everyone. They even um, they they don't have to put down government projects to win elections. No. Instead, they can campaign on ways to make what works even better and then introduce new policies that benefit all Jamaicans. Still, I mean, this would be the ideal situation, but not with the Rise United PNP. The Rise United PNP can only and must only be rejected by all Jamaicans if we have 1 ounce of love and pride in ourselves and for our own. There is no way to compromise on this one. Just spew them out. Think on these things, my people. Peace out.